Hi there from Nick.
And hi from Martin.
And today we're going to assess, we're going to talk about, but actually we're assessing 26 Cranbrook Road, M18 7JW. Kind of an interesting property because it's got a few compromises. It's got a slightly odd situation, which I think could be good overall. Right, now the very first thing, just to explain the context, there's a tenant in situ. I don't know whether the tenant will remain in situ for a long time. We need to find that out. But this is your just classic buy-to-let, relatively poorly done property, but in fundamentally good condition. So a lot of the essentials have been done on this house, which is good, and we're going to see all of that. But the first thing I want to do is just check this. So you've sent me a link, Martin, is that right?
Yeah, from the historical sale. And you can see that the kitchen is a little bit upgraded. Some cabinet doors are removed. The bathroom wasn't not the best. And now it's clean, and it's clean and better.
Yeah. So this is somebody who's, I see. Okay, this is very helpful. All right, well, let's get into this. I'm going to share a screen and we'll start with the current listings and then we'll work our way back. So we start with the current listings, which is this lot. And broadly, this property has had a tidy up. We know it's rentable because it's got a tenant in it. So all the electricity certification, the gas certification and so on works. And this property was bought fairly recently in 2019 for 110 before the big spike or sweep in the market, the local market in Manchester. And it is not, they say it's stunning. I love the language. So stunning. It's not really just it's a stunning property. Stunning. Look at that. This is what we aspire to live in, all of us. Right. The home of my dreams because it's stunning. And it's a property with a little bit of a roof issue, which we need to look at closely later. But generally speaking, it's a 19th century kind of above economy house. And we know this because it's got the fancy brickwork. If it was super economy, they wouldn't have even bothered doing the brickwork. It would just be whatever. But it's principally a decent property, decent brickwork, quality of brickwork, that is, and you got the fancy stuff in the roof. But this may be an original roof. And the reason I suspect that is because it's bowing here by the chimney. And I think we've got a better photograph of this later on, which we'll look at. And here we've got a very plain buy-to-let interior with a gigantic TV. Well, that's something, I suppose. And yeah, it's just a typical ready-to-rent property with economy carpets, economy everything. This is the ultra economy property, I've got to say. Very plain interior, but everything's basically okay. Some issue here, by the way, with this door, if you notice. They don't quite fit properly, or there's some... Anyway.
You can check on the historical sale. You can see there's a cabinet on the top of the washing machine. There was a cabinet, they removed it, so...
Yeah. The good thing about this property is that whilst it's very economy, a lot of the bad stuff has been ripped out in its history. And that's the original plasterwork, the original ceilings, which is good. Here's the house, the previous particulars for the property. And you can see nothing much has changed. So there it is. It's all pretty bleak. And
can you open the historical?
Yeah, this is it. So yeah, this is the historic sale stuff. And same electric fireplace. But at least we know that it's all okay. It's going to get certification, probably even the same carpet, in fact. And
no, the carpets are changed.
Have they?
Now more lighter, yes.
Oh, okay.
And more economy.
Yeah, actually, because this has an underlay on it, and that makes it marginally nicer. Plug sockets, this is fairly old wiring, but I guess it's compliant because there's a tenant in there and they would have got certification. This plug socket's up on high. So I suspect the way it's worked is that they've partially rewired over the years. And if you notice, there's no coving anywhere, which makes it all feel very, very bare. But what it does tell me is that they've ripped out all the old plaster work, which is a good thing because lath and plaster isn't really good news. And there's the cupboard, kitchen. There's a funny gap here on the newer pictures. I don't know what's going on. We'll have a look at the video in a minute.
Yeah, and you can see that it was
There's the
dirty.
bathroom.
Yeah, but I will change the carpet in the bathroom for sure.
Yeah, it's just unpleasant, but you know what? It's somewhere people can live, and that's a good start. And let's have a look at the floor plan. There it is. The other good thing about this property is it's big enough so that it can accommodate a bathroom at the back and not have compromises. With a lot of these smaller terraced houses, you occasionally see huge compromises on the floor plan just to squeeze in a bathroom. Things like access to the bathroom via the second bedroom, or spectacularly small bedrooms just to squeeze that bathroom in somewhere. Anyway, right, let's have a look at the footage and we can have a look and just see what's going on. Now, I'll do the exterior one first. I'm just listening, and there's a reason. Sorry about the silence if you're listening. I'm listening for something. Okay, what I was listening for was this thing here. That big thing on the left of the screen is a pumping station, and we can see this more clearly. I'll just go here. We can see it more clearly on the map. It's adjacent to this thing, and this is owned by United Utilities. So Martin had a quick look up on property data, and it belongs to them. That's interesting. The way these things work is that there's a big pump in there, and it's pumping water to a higher pressure, I suppose. That's probably what it does. And you might have a hum or whatever out of it periodically, but I don't think it's an issue. And I was listening for any sounds from the video and I didn't hear anything, so that's good. I like this road as well. I think it's a pleasant road. It feels nice, as roads can feel nice. Anyway, going back to the videos and so on, as I said, it's a decent property, or nice enough location. This is such an economy interior, my goodness, but the fundamentals are good. Like all the walls are very smooth, if you've noticed. The glazing looks okay.
The only thing what I will do, I will modernize this property. It will achieve more rent.
Yeah,
you can see the wiring. Yeah. Can you back in the hall? You can see the wiring. I think they upgraded, maybe.
Yeah, I think a lot of the wiring has been upgraded because
yes, you can see here.
Exactly. Yeah. So if the plug socket is up on high, then that's good. Just means it was done relatively recently.
Yeah, and when it was purchased last time, the doors are changed, or at least doors are painted. So because there was like a light brown, now they're dark brown.
Also, you got vents on the chimney, which is good, so air can pass through. It just reduces condensation and so on.
From historical
brisket damp.
Yeah. But some doors, I think they are not changed, so I will paint. I will make. No, they are changed. Okay, they are painted. Yes.
See, these walls are very smooth. That's good. The thing with all these kind of properties are, if you have to redo the plasterwork and redo the ceilings, it's the most dirty, messy job, and it's incredibly disruptive and time consuming because it takes so long for the plaster to to dry out and so on. And therefore, it's one of those things like avoiding a back to bricks is important. I think the only serious question for me is what's going on with that roof. I don't see any signs of damp. Annoyingly, this guy hasn't paused
But the bricks
long
looks
enough.
really nice. Yeah,
They
really
do. It's likely this has a damp-proof course in it already, mainly because it was post 1900s and they would have worked out that maybe if you put a layer of bitumen in or something like that to stop the water coming through, that would help. But 18 properties in 1880, that kind of thing, no damp-proof course. Crazy, because you would think there would be something to damp-proof back then, but there wasn't. Double glazing looks good. Yeah, as I say, the general thing with this property is it's very banal. It could do with a painting and decorating, but if it's got a tenant in situ, then I need to find out what the deal is with that. And if reasonable, well, good, then you just leave it alone.
The kitchen is okay.
Yeah, there's something wrong with that door. Oh, I see what they've done. Look, they've swapped the doors around. So the one at the end is one of the doors got broken or smashed, and somehow they've just done some shuffling around. So it's just an annoying issue to be sorted. Oh, let's just back. Okay, we've got a little bit of action down there. Oh,
yeah, I saw.
I'll just pause. So, right. Okay, there's some little stipples and things like that down there. Assuming this property hasn't been renovated too recently, then I assume it's okay. There's a possibility of some damp, but if it's not serious, then I don't think it's worth dealing with. The other thing of interest is the lined, the wallpaper, the lining paper on this. I don't think that's especially old. A lot of the early textured wallpaper was very textured. I suspect that, as with a lot of properties like this, it had a huge renovation maybe in the 60s, and then after that it was then big renovation in the 60s, and so the worst of the issues was dealt with. Now I'm just looking for any signs of damp-proof coursing or whatever. I don't see anything, but then I don't see any damp, so this is all okay. All right, what are we on to next? Demographics and all that. Sorry, I better share my screen again. And here we go. Let's go and zoom into this spot. Have I got the right postcode? We'll find out. And it's this and M18 7JW. Oh yeah, I do. Okay. That's because I did this earlier, but I just forgot that I did it earlier. Okay, I'm going to close all of this. Close. Give you some more screen. There you go. Now you can see everything. All right, we'll start with the basic stuff. Crime, not much. Very quiet. Very good. Very quiet. Very nice. Very low-key area. Demographics, a lot of private rented, and that kind of figures because it's a terraced house. Not that terraced houses are always private rented, but I think this is a decent enough area, suitably far away from the cemetery, which is a good thing. But anyway, decent enough area, decent demographics, a lot of C1s, C2s, your classic kind of rent area, actually, i.e. people who don't have the money to buy yet, but want to rent. So that shapes up pretty well and is pretty consistent overall with what's going on. For example, over here, you can see private rented 10% because it's all 3-bed semis. But these properties, they're the economy properties for the area, and they're the kind of places that people renters are happy to make compromises with to live. And they're like, well, I'm not going to stay here forever, and the overall area is nice, therefore I'll rent here. And I don't know what's there, Martin. You'll be able to tell me in a minute, but I assume there's some kind of supermarket or something.
Yeah, it's
supermarket. Oh
yeah.
Yeah, baby.
It will be. Yeah, it's really nice location. I'll talk about.
Well, that explains why there's so much private rented, because it's a really good location for renting. So great. Okay, let's have a look at the capital growth. I've been doing a lot of work on this just generally, and I've been modifying a lot of my numbers on this as well. And the big thing that I've changed over the weekend when doing a deep dive into the data, as I do periodically, is just what's really going on. And we've got property data, postcode district data. This is for the last, this is quite good because it's very current. And they're talking about 16% growth across the postcode district. But in reality, we've got 10% inflation, 10% inflation. So the truth is that growth above inflation is 5%, which is pretty amazing and makes it one of the strongest growing areas around. But, you know, it's easy to go, well, prices are going crazy. Well, yes, they are, but relative to inflation, kind of crazy-ish. Now let's have a look at the more detailed data. And I'm going to look at a couple of spots. This one is good because it's indicative. Whenever I look at capital growth, you can see a blue border here. So the data is for everything within this blue border. And what's very helpful is when I have like-for-like property. So if we look at this area down here, huge amount of local authority housing, very different story to the housing we got here. And therefore this one is good because it's solid data basically. And we can see that the median house price is 128. Yeah, that was in 21. We know that prices have gone up by up to 145, 150-ish, that kind of thing, median in the last year. And one thing that's quite interesting about this area is it did crash quite heavily in the last crash, and it's only 2% above the high water mark of last time. So I think there's something left in this market, this area. I think it still represents some value, and that's good because there are certain areas where I just think they are intensively overbought, and that's not good, but this is okay. So my capital growth prediction, without doing a huge thing in it, there are market cycles. They happen 1845 today. Each hour represents a cycle. We're in the final part of the boom phase. We know this because we can see that mortgage payments are starting to go up into unsustainable levels. And we know that from history, whenever this happens, then you have a period of a few years of this madness, and then it all settles down again. So I just think we're on a countdown to a property crash. We've got a couple of years left, and the thing to do is just keep sensible, focus on real value, and then you'll be okay. Now, overall, I've always said that Manchester is an amazing growth story, as in the economy is amazing. It's a real alternative to London. It's probably the most coherent, cohesive city compared to London that there is in the UK, in my view, in so many ways. It's like London in its geography in many respects, with the ring road. It's culturally coherent, culturally fairly unified as well. Coherent is the wrong word, unified is better. Anyway, right, good area. I think there's something left here on the capital gain for this property. And so far I like it. I like this property more than I thought I would. Over to you, Martin.
I will share my screen. And first I will speak about the location. And so here it is. So I will just close to WhatsApp. So okay. So basically, the location is really good. I expect that when we did the analysis, we didn't check this water pump, but there's nothing issue with that. So,
yeah, it's not even noisy.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
what I was listening for, when the guy walked through across the street, he got very close to that thing, and there was no humming or like noise or anything out of it. So I assume what they've got is, as I said, a big old pump in there that's probably pretty quiet, and it's probably very heavily noise insulated.
Yeah, yeah. And I wanted to see if there is a park restriction or so. Nothing. Everything is free. Parking is free because of the water pump. So yeah, everything should be fine. I just wanted to see if there is some issue, and there is no flood risk. I will show you. So basically, this is gated. It have 4 gates. So basically, all this, yeah, it's private, so it's safe and it's really nice.
It's a freehold, did you say?
Yeah, yeah, and also it's here is really close to the Academy Espinal. It's like a school. It's really close to a supermarket, which is great. You have a lot of small stores on the main road. You have bus stations as well.
Yeah, but adding to this, if you have an academy, for example, which is a place with young people, you would kind of expect a lot of crime, because you get kids just doing stupid things, basically, teenagers doing stupid things. But when you look at the crime data, there's very little going on. It's actually very, very quiet. So that's good.
And also, it's really not really close, but it's not far away from the train stops you have here and you have there. So, and also really close to a huge park with the ponds and so on. The location is it's really nice. And I will go, if you want to go to Manchester, and if you want to go by car, it's 21 minutes because of the traffic jam. And if you just go by, it's 18 minutes, which is amazing.
Well, this validates why this area is so good for renting, why there's so much rental stock here.
Yeah, the house is not the best, and I will say, I mean, it's because it's old. The house is not good built or so. Just it's it's not the newest build. It's a freehold. This is the last purchase before the market become crazy. So not crazy, but hot, and the capital growth and inflation and everything hits. So yeah, the price, it's now the asking is 165. Yeah, they're asking okay, maybe a little bit higher, but maybe not.
Yeah, but the way that works, this sale is all about if it's all about the offer, the asking price being achieved, and if it is achieved, then the seller will take it off the market, provided they're confident in the buyer.
Yeah, as I said, because they're poor, but assume it's good. The roof have 100 millimeter insulation, which is okay, but maybe have issues. But we'll find this is like the.
By the way, sorry, just to say, on the cavity wall, the main building is cavity, and then the annex, the little bit at the back, is solid. We know this because of the way the brick is done.
Yeah, it's good. What you need to do is cavity wall insulation. Also floor insulation if you need heating controller, maybe you can improve. So there is not a lot what you will. APCD is good. If they need to change to C, you can achieve that. So a low risk surface water and low risk rivers and the sea. There is no reservoir issue. So basically everything safe. About the coal mining, there is no coal mining area around, because the property is here and it's too far away from all the coal mining entrance. Or I will go for high development area where you're far away. Basically, this property doesn't have risks. And about the what else I need to speak, I will say about the comparables, because when I did, I see that for letting, for example, this property next door, 208 per month. They're asking for 2-bedroom terrace house, and we can check just to show you how it's look like. They're asking. You can see that the condition are similar.
Yeah, but nicer decorated.
Yeah, it's just
that's the thing. Yeah, this property, if it was sympathetically decorated, then it would be so much nicer. It's just the current owner has no idea about interiors and has just slapped a load of white paint in there and hoping for the best. But the fundamentals of this house are good.
Yeah, if you make it modernized, you can rent it even until the purchase completed. It will be 850. And yeah,
I like this house. The more I look at it, the more I like it, I've got to say.
And I also check like property around, like terrace house, 2 bedrooms, 177, a little bit better condition. This is 141, but it looks like the all walls are all the new strip out, which is a mess. So, and also there is one who's 160, but this terrace, not the end of terrace, similar condition. But this is October, so 165. I think it's a good price for. It's a little bit better, but not the best.
Yeah, it's a bit like 165 is sort of. Arguably, it's pushing it a little bit, but the vendor is doing the two things. A, it's got a tenant in situ, so that puts off all the owner occupiers. There have been 7 viewings, no offers, and I expect there'll be a couple of offers or whatever. But it's that whole thing about people want to buy it cheap or whatever, and the guy just wants to get the price. And I presume he's selling because either he's had enough of the tax imposition on the property, because maybe he owns it himself, or he just thinks, if it's a he, thinks that it's just the market's gone a bit mad, it's time to sell and just wait.
160, but this is like 60 meters square, no, 54 meters square. Nicer condition, but really small. So
yeah, this property doesn't need much for it to really sparkle. It's just down to a sympathetic paint and decorate and carpets, and then I think you're basically good. The only condition risk is that roof.
Yeah. So if there is no issue with 165, will be really, really good. If we can make the calculation, you can see that the rent will be minimum 800. 825 will be if you a little bit modernize. If you modernize much more, it will be 85. Like
we'll play with the numbers in a minute.
Yeah. So so there is like 160. There is also 167.5. You can see I think it's the same size, but it have loft room.
Yeah, loft rooms are funny because they
don't increase the rent. It's better for.
They're exactly, for owner occupier they're great, but for rental not so good.
Yeah, so I think it's a good price, 165 if you can take it. Let's make the calculation on the scores.
Okay. And here we go. All right, right, so let's assume £165,000 because that's what the agent said. Renovation, well, in theory, it's either 0 or let's assume, for worst case, let's assume that the tenant is vacating and the electrics are okay and the roof will hold out. Then it's 4,500 for a nice makeover to really bring it up. You said 850, didn't you?
I think, let's say 825. But I don't know how much tenants pays. I think the tenants will pay around 600 now or so.
Yeah, it's the usual BM below market value tenancy stuff.
This is just because the tenants will stay longer. They rent it when the market for renting wasn't that hot. So
so I think you've got another 15% left in this. If you assume inflation, if you don't assume inflation, if you go for nominal growth, it's going to be way higher. But well, let's just do it non-inflation. So it's probably in the region of at least 25% more growth, I would say, and nominally probably 12. So in theory, if you buy the property now and you sell it, I could easily see it creeping up around the 200 mark in the next 2 years. But I also see it crashing. But then if you buy it early enough, then you'll be okay. And this area, just going back to my capital growth numbers, this did crash 18%, but generally what I find with this is if an area is not overbought as compared to peak of market, then you're good. It's like you get this long-term rebalancing thing going on, where if it just got too busy, too buoyant in the last boom, the 2018 boom, and if it got overbought then what tends to happen mostly is it tends to be a bit suppressed on this end of the cycle. It's like you get this long-term rebalancing thing going on. In this case, it got overcooked, but it flatlined for a very, 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 very long time relative to inflation. It's at 2007 levels. But the difference between now and then is that we're at 1% interest rates, whereas back then it was 4.5%. So the economics are very different today. And therefore, with all that in mind, I definitely see some growth in this property. I like it for all these reasons. I think there's value here, and I think you'll see areas like this, these kind of less in demand areas, becoming more in demand as people migrate out of Swinton and Salford and these kind of places. So that's kind of what I'm thinking. Okay, right, let's get back to it. And we are on, right, now I'll just get the scores up. Okay, make that bigger for you. All right, we have lots of scores. We have over 100 now. That's quite a lot. All right, condition. Actually, it's in better condition than you might think. I would say 3.8.
Yep.
Location.
A spec that is next to the pump station, but that's not an issue. But this will just put that for lower. So I'll give 4.3.
Okay. Area.
Oh, it's good for, I think. Not the best, not the worst. It's good.
Crime, it's pretty low actually. Demographics, oddly enough, they're quite good. It's a lot of C1. It's perfect renter territory, so I'm going to give it a 4.1. Capital growth, all things are relative. When we started doing these scores, not that long ago actually, I think our general outlook was we still got money to take, as it were. So there's this notion of the winner's curse, which is where people buy so late in the property cycle that when the crash comes, the property is worth less than they paid. I think we're in that kind of fuzzy zone where we're starting to see certain areas which are now in the winner's curse. And it doesn't happen everywhere. It happens in certain places. And as I said, Swinton, Stockport, Salford, these kind of places, which are just, but they're in the winner's curse now, I think. They're just too hot, too overbought, in our opinion. But places like Gorton still got value, still good. Therefore, for capital growth, I'm going to give it a 4. For yield, Martin, yields were quite decent on this.
Yeah, it's 4. Yeah, it's good. It's good yield.
So kind of 5-6%. Yeah, no, sort of 5.8. Yeah.
It's good.
Gets a decent score. It's above average, 4.02. Yeah. That's good.
Yeah, and the location is good. Everything's good with the property, I guess. I don't see any issues.
So in summary, as I said before, don't know how you feel about this, but sorry, I'm just making myself lighter. I like this property more than I thought I would. First impressions were poor, but this is why we do the assessments.
The only one issue for me is that the garden is not the best, but basically the tenants prefer this kind of garden because they will not like to maintain the garden. But it's private, it's gated, so yeah.
Yeah, it's high, it's secure, it's a really nice renter. Yeah, great. Well, there it is. It gets a decent score from us, and yeah, let's know what you want to do.
Yeah.
All right, thank you.